When I first came in the program, like I honestly didn't know who Michael was or what he looked like or anything because I had my original interview with Kathy. So I was there the first day, sitting with my mom. I was really scared and really sad because I saw like a lot of older kids talking to each other. I had no idea who any of them were and stuff. And so Michael walks in with this with his famous yellow jacket and his like faded sunglasses, and I was like, wow, this guy's legit.
The first time I met Michael, he was in, I want to say, his Superman pajama pants. And I think I'm correct in saying his Superman pajama pants. And I know he was in his big red leather I Love Lucy jacket. So it was quite the first impression.
But the first time that Michael even noticed I was alive was we were doing the dance, Pretty Beautiful Girls, that's what it was, Beautiful Girls, and Michael Pena was singing it. You know, beautiful girls.
My first day of YPW, Michael had been expecting a boy since he read the name Dylan on the sheet. And so his very first impression of me was that of disappointment because he was expecting a boy to show up. But we quickly moved past that and became part of the Centenary family.
The very first time I ever met Michael Blevins, it was my very first audition ever. My very first audition ever. I was 8 years old. It was a summer session at Centenary Young Performers Workshop. And they gave me sides or a script, and I had no idea what they like how to read them. So like I'm an 8-year-old kid, and I go in the room, and I'm reading them, and I'm like, "Hey Jimmy, what's up? How you doing? Oh hey Sally, you know." And like I'm reading the stage direction, and I'm reading the names, and I'm reading all the stuff you're not supposed to read. And so Michael looks at me and says, all right, just stop, just put down the sides. Now go outside and then run back in here and tell us and convince us that there's a fire going on outside. So I run outside, I run back in, I'm like, oh my God, there's a fire! And they're laughing, they're cracking up, and and it was awesome. So that was my very first audition ever.
I experienced my first kiss at Centenary, and it was in front of Michael for Sound of Music backstage. And it was the most embarrassing moment probably of my life, but I was glad that Michael was there to share that. I'm sure he doesn't even remember, but it was very embarrassing.
I will never forget that one more time means a million.
When I walked into the audition at Centenary, I knew that I was definitely somewhere special and different. Even the little kids, you know, the 7, 8, 9-year-olds all had this little air of baby professionalism about them. And like they knew what they were doing. And I soon realized that that is because that's how Michael treated all of us.
When I was 16, I had just gotten my learner's permit, and Michael asked me to drive him back to the city from Centenary. And we were crossing over the George Washington Bridge, and I had to get in the right lane. And I was so terrified of trying to get through the traffic, and Michael decided to just lean his head out the window with a cigarette dangling out of his mouth and was like, "Excuse me, can you let us in? Can you let us in?"
How many times did we have to stage the curtain call during intermission? I mean, seriously, it happened, I think, so many times that it became kind of a running joke about how many times we had to, oh my God, everybody in the back! And we would stage a curtain call in, 5 minutes flat.
Hey Blev, this is Terrence Abertitis. I just wanted to tell you how much you have meant to me over the past 20 years. I can't believe it's been 20 years, which means I'm getting old. Anyway, one of my favorite memories at Centenary probably was during the rink rehearsal when you were trying to choreograph on roller skates and didn't really make it. My worst memory is probably the same season when I completely skipped the title number of the show. I'm pretty sure I got yelled at for it.
I remember this one time we were doing this tap number, and I knew the steps inside and out, but of course Michael sits down right next to me, right by my feet in fact, and I just lose all sense of rhythm inside my body. And I'm off doing my own thing to my own beat, and Michael looks up at me and says, "Why don't you listen to the other kids?"
I was at Centenary from 88 to 95. I cannot believe it was that long ago. I was actually at Centenary before Michael arrived. I think Lauren Sweeney and I were the only two original people. I will never forget when I first met Michael at Centenary, because it was truly one of the most inspirational moments in my life. He made me believe that I could have a career as an actor, that I was capable of doing the work that was required of me, and it's something that I have held close to me even as an adult, even into my 30s, and I've been a working actor now for over 10 years and have made my living as an actor just strictly from acting. And a large part of that is due to Michael for giving me confidence. When I was in school, I was never cast in like big roles. I was always secondary and small, nothing roles. But Michael gave me these huge opportunities to play these incredible parts, and it instilled such amazing confidence in me that it's followed me all the way into my life. And actually right now I'm sitting outside of an audition in Los Angeles.
Rehearsing late at night for Grease. I was playing Cha-Cha. Justin Bassito was playing Danny, and Michael came and said that he had a dream, and in this dream Justin was flinging me through the air, and I'm doing flips and landing on all sorts of objects, and obviously it wasn't something that could happen, but it definitely lightened the mood when we were all feeling stressed out and overworked.
My first big role was Mary in The Secret Garden, opposite the amazing Michael McKernan as crippled boy in wheelchair. And in that show, there's a scene where Mary throws a tantrum, and she's screaming and she's flailing around on the floor. And I was super nervous to rehearse that scene because it was a big deal. I must have been only 11, and it was with Michael Pena and Jonathan Lightcap, and I was just brand new at this whole acting thing. And the time came, and I just kind of went for it, and I went all out. And in every show since then, I can say that I pushed myself past my limits every single time, and that was because of Michael. Michael had a way of making you feel comfortable, but still pushing to get the best out of you. And I think he got the best out of all of us.
We're doing the hand jive. And I was playing Danny, so I did the whole first section, dancing with Cha-Cha, Melissa DeFort, and did that whole first section of just the couples. And then I did a guys section with me and Jeff and Eddie. Then I had a solo, and then I danced with Melissa again, and then we did a whole group ending. So the whole thing it had to have been like, I don't know, 11 minutes of solid dancing for me. And this one day we were on the stage, it was close to Tech Week. We ran it 3 times in a row. 3 times in a row. Which for me was running a marathon, because I was like split jumping and flipping and, you know, rolling back on the ground and lifting Melissa up and getting hit in the face and whatever. 3 times in a row, like no break, just go on. Then who walks in? Mary Beth Fritzke. So of course, Centenary royalty comes in. You got to do it again, and you have to do it better than the other times. So of course, we do it once, twice, 3 times. I just did the hand jive 6 times in a row, which is an hour of solid dancing for me. I mean, I was just sweating bullets. I was standing in the back, hunched over, breathing, feeling like I was going to die, like throw up, just lose all of my organs out of my mouth. And Michael turns to us, and I guess, you know, some people messed up the choreography or didn't know what was going on. And he said, "You have no excuse. You have no excuse for not knowing. All you do is go to school. That is all you do." You know, I mean, granted, maybe that was all we could do, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I had just danced for an hour straight for him, worked my ass off, was gonna throw up. And what does he say? Do it again, do it better.
It's really hard to think of a great Michael Blevins story without thinking I probably shouldn't be saying it out loud to so many people. But trust me, there are a lot of good stories. And a lot of them I experienced with some of the most amazing people that I know. And that's really the most amazing thing I take from Michael is the environment that he created at Centenary College in the Young Performers Workshop.
When I first started YPW, I was very, very painfully shy, to the point of almost social ineptitude, I would say. But during my time at YPW, I came out of my shell, I became more confident in myself, and I became very comfortable with who I was as a person and as a performer. And I have Michael to thank for all of that, because he forced me in a way that wasn't overstepping any boundaries or uncomfortable, but he forced me to be confident in who I was and to just be confident in my talent and be comfortable with all that. So I really owe that to him.
We were in the T building. It must have been, gosh, 96 or 97. And for some reason that summer, we all decided to get into coloring books. And it was during a rehearsal when we should have been paying attention, but instead we were all coloring. And you got so angry and you stomped across the room and you picked up what must have been 40 coloring books and all of the crayons and took them in your hands and went across the room in the T building and threw them out the window. And I still, to this day, crack up anytime I think about that moment.
Blev was like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you a line in the show," and I was like, "Oh, a line, that's great." And the line was about the sausages in like the workhouse, in Fagin's workhouse or something, and the line was, "They're stale," referring to the sausages. And so I went home and watched the movie over and over again. I was like, "Oh, how do I say this line? How do I say this line?" And in the movie, it said, "These sausages are stale." So I asked Blev if I can change it, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, you can change it." And so I guess that, I don't know, still to this day he makes me do the "These sausages are stale" line, and I don't know, it's kind of fun.
But really, it was a learning moment for me, and I had many of those at the YPW where I learned, you know, it's okay to fail, and what really is there to be nervous about, because we did it again and I did the number just fine. And those are the life lessons that I have taken with me over the years from being involved in the YPW. Now, I didn't go into performing arts in my career. I work in corporate America, but in corporate America, we have a lot of presentations and public speaking opportunities, and one day my coworker asked me why I don't get scared or nervous when those opportunities arise, and one of the things I realized is that it's thanks to the YPW, because to me they're just small performances and there's nothing to get nervous about because I have that background that Michael gave me in my childhood.
It was quite an experience. It really helped me develop as a performer and taught me a couple of lessons, one of which was the show must go on. And I say that because we did a lot of productions. Sometimes we did 4 or 5 shows in a season, maybe even more than that. And I think the last season or the second to last season that I was there, we did a show called Gifts of the Magi, where we basically threw a show together in 3 days. And if it wasn't for Michael, with his dedication, if it wasn't for all of us and our hard work, waking up early, going to bed really late, I don't think that it would have ended up as amazing as it was.
And I was having a really hard day, kind of brought my problems with me to rehearsal. And Michael said, "You know what, Dylan? I'm going to help you out here. I'm going to help you get rid of all these problems. Come with me." And I was so confused. I said, "Well, what do you mean? What are you going to do?" And he said, "Follow me." And he took me out to the parking lot to his car and unlocked the trunk. And he said, "I want you to dump all your problems into the trunk of this car and we're going to lock them away so you can move on and have fun in rehearsal." And I think that really stuck with me. Mike was so great at sort of just speaking to the mind of a child and really just helping me unload my problems and focus on the task at hand.
Michael taught me a lot, and he taught me a lot of lessons about how to stay humble and how to take care of yourself and how to be persistent and how to do the right thing. And I learned a lot from Michael, and I really feel like it all started with him.